everyone, Kelly here, and I just wanted to have a kind of chatty video where I discuss what I have been reading this week. So I've seen a lot of people do videos that they call Friday Reads, where they just kind of discuss what they've read in that week, what they finished, what they've started, what they're planning on reading. And I like to watch those because I kind of like to see what's coming up on people's wrap-ups, kind of what people are in the middle of and what they're thinking of it as they're reading it. And so I wanted to give it a try. I'm going to try it for the month of April and try to do these every Friday and just see if I like that, because that is kind of sticking to a schedule, and see if it works out to do that. And then after April, I'll decide if that's something I'm going to continue or whether it was a nice experiment and moving on. So I am going to kind of run through what I have read only this week. So there's always books that I'm in the middle of, meaning I've put them down for a while. So I'm not going to discuss anything that I haven't actively read this week. And when it comes to the books I finished, I'll show them to you, but I'm not going to give you any kind of details because I want to save that for the wrap up so that this isn't too long. I want to actually talk about the books that I am in the middle of. So in terms of what I have finished, so first, my first audiobook of the month, I picked up 9 Lives, and I had the book from the library, but I prefer to do thrillers as audiobooks. So the audiobook came in from my library account, and I listened to this all in one day. I will say that I didn't really like it, so I will give you details on that in my mid-month wrap-up. But this is Peter Swanson has written a ton of books, and I have liked some, haven't liked others, and I just haven't been liking the last few that he has put out. So after not liking this one, I think I am done with Peter Swanson. So that was a disappointment, my first audiobook of the month. And then my daughter and I have been reading through R.O. Shaw. This is book 3, R.O. Shaw and the Tree of Wishes. We continue to really love this series. And speaking of this one, so we finished this one, but we have already moved on to book 2, which I don't have physically because we just decided to pick it up on audiobook, because that's how we ended up reading this one, was on audiobook. So we are probably only in the first fourth of book 4. Still loving these characters, the adventure. I'm excited to see where this one will go, since there's only one more, to see if we're getting close to a big climax in the last book. Because each one of these, there is kind of a quest that they're doing in each of the books, but then there's an overarching bad guy that we are trying to deal with that is bringing about the destruction of the world kind of thing, but then there's still little quests in between. And so same with this one, there was just a self-contained story, and then we brought in new people for the arc. I like the new characters they brought in this one. And then talking about book 4, which I'll put a picture of it, it's called The City of Gold. This one we brought in another character, which was a bit of a surprise who this character turns out to be, or at least who we are introduced to them as, so I won't give any kind of spoilers, but yeah, I just love that she's bringing in new characters each one, and we're really getting to know these new characters, and I love that about the series. And the last thing I have finished is I finished a manga called Toilet Bound Hanako-kun, and this is the beginning of a video that hopefully will be up sometime in April because I'm taking my time with it. I am trying manga for the very first time, so I picked several different ones that I've gotten recommendations on BookTube, and I'm just going through each one and giving the first volume a try. So this is the first one I finished. I'm not going to give you my thoughts on it here. I'll wait for that video, but I have 5 more I'm going to read, and then I will have a whole video. But that gives you a little sneak peek that I will be doing a video about trying manga for the first time. So that's all the stuff that I have finished, and R.O. Shaw and the City of Gold I'm continuing on. And then let's talk about the books that I'm reading physically. So I started The Ogres and the Orphans by Kelly Barnhill. I picked this up because I did not love her most famous book, The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Everybody seems to love that book, and I didn't really love it. And also Amanda from the Curly Reader also didn't love that book. So when this new one came out, she and I were like, let's read it together so we can give this author a second chance, but that way if we don't like it, we have each other to commiserate with, and we don't have to worry about insulting somebody who loved The Girl Who Drank the Moon. And we are taking this very slow. I'm only on page 62, and we started this at the beginning of the month. I'm gonna hopefully dive in this weekend and really focus on this one, but I've just not been reading physically a lot. Well, I guess I haven't really been doing audio much. Really, I just have not been devoted to a book so far this week, based on the fact that all I finished was a short audiobook that's only 6 hours long, and then this one we were already more than halfway through at the beginning of the month, and then a manga. That's all I finished so far, 8 days into the month. So I'm just not reading a whole bunch. But so far I am enjoying this one more than I enjoy The Girl Who Drank the Moon. But like I said, just beginning, just in the setup point. So hopefully more of that will come soon. Another one that carried over from March is I had started romancing Mr Bridgeton by Julia Quinn, which is the 4th book in the Bridgerton series. I have not read books 1 through 3. I picked this up because my husband and I, we basically binged the first 2 seasons of Bridgerton last month, a week before the new season came out. We finished the first one and then we watched the whole second one in a week. And I was really enjoying it, and I just wanted to try the books and just see if I would like them. And so far I am not. So I'm a pretty good portion of the way into this one. I think I'm 300 some pages. So I'm towards the last, I think I only have 3 more chapters left. And yeah, I'm not loving this. So I don't think I picked up this one because this was the couple I was most interested in. And I also heard in reviews that this is the one with the least alpha male kind of main character, because I heard that the first 3 are definitely more alpha males, and that they also have some questionable consent with the sex scenes. And so I wasn't into that. So I thought I would pick this one up. And I would have to say, if this is the least alpha male, I do not like him, and I would probably hate all the other guys because I think he's just angry most of the book. Our main character here, the Bridgerton, and I'm just why is this a romance? He's angry all the time. I'm not finding it romantic at all. So not loving this one. And I was gonna give up, but I'm literally only 3 chapters left. So probably only 50 pages left. So I might as well just finish it. So yeah, I'm slowly making my way through that. Like I said, I started it a couple weeks ago, towards the end of March. And then a book I'm slowly going through, and I haven't told you about this yet, but I am reading Les Miserables throughout the year by Victor Hugo. And I started this about halfway through January. And my best friend and I are reading this, and we're just taking it very slow. We're only reading 1 book at a time, which I think there are 47 books in here. So it's gonna take us the entire year. And I thought at first, I was am I gonna like that? Am I gonna like going so slow? But it's working out really well because I can read other things at the same time. I'm still reading it every week because we're discussing it every Thursday. So at least by every Thursday, I have that book read. And, so it's about maybe it averages at about 50 pages a week. And I am enjoying taking this slow ride through it. So where is that? That's about how far we are so far. And I really am liking it. There's parts that are a little slow. There's the whole Waterloo section, which if you've read Les Mis or heard about it, you know what I'm talking about. That was a bit of a torture for us. And so sometimes when I get to those spots, I do pick up the audiobook. I audiobooked the Waterloo section. This week's section was when we were at the point where he finally is if you don't want to know anything about Les Mis, move on. It's not a huge spoiler if you've seen the movie or the play, but if you don't want to hear it, I'll put spoiler on the screen. But I'm basically at the point of the story where Jean Valjean has gone to get Cosette. And so I'm really excited about this part. I hope that there's more about their relationship in the book than there was in the play, because I just want to see that kind of father-daughter found family relationship grow. So that's it for Les Mis. So like I said, I'm just taking this very slow. So I'll just update you. I'm not gonna probably talk about it every Friday because we are only doing 1 book a week, but if something comes up that I want to discuss, just know I'm reading that all year long. And then another audiobook / physical read, I'm doing it together, is Aint Burnt, All the Bright by Jason Reynolds, artwork by Jason Griffin. And this is definitely one that involves the artwork. And technically I have finished this, but this is one you have to read it several times, at least in my opinion, because especially if you can do the audiobook. So I picked it up with the audiobook because I like Jason Reynolds' voice and he does the audiobook, but it's on each page is only 1 sentence or part of a sentence. It's only a few sentences throughout the whole book, and so just little parts of the sentence on a page. And so he's reading it pretty quickly. I mean, he's not reading it that quickly, but in terms of me taking the time to see the art on the page when there's only 4 words on the page or something, and then having to turn the page to keep up with the audiobook. So what I did was I went through the whole thing following along with the audiobook on 1x speed, so I didn't speed it up at all. It takes 13 minutes. And I went through it all, but I want to go back through without the audiobook and just take my time on each page to look at the artwork, because obviously part of this is supposed to be the artwork. And I did really like listening to it, and I'm kind of glad I listened to the whole thing so I get what it is that he's getting across. It's almost like poetry, not really, but you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of, it's more of an art piece, this book. It's not necessarily a story. It's just someone kind of talking about what life is like in 2020. Like you could definitely tell we're talking about masks and COVID and a family member being sick and not being able to breathe, but then also talking about other ways that we can't breathe in this world, anxiety and other things that were going on in 2020. And so you could definitely tell this is in a specific time period. So I would recommend reading it soon because it is so like time specific. But yeah, I'm gonna read this again. So I'm counting this as currently reading because I don't count myself as finishing it because I really wanna dive in and look at the pictures more slowly. So that's what I'm doing with that. And then that's basically it. I will mention that I haven't started this book yet, The Last Laugh by Minnie McGinnis. But what I'm doing is, this is a sequel to a book called The Initial Insult. I'll put a picture of it here. And what I'm doing is I'm going back, since I haven't read this for a year and a half, I'm going back and just reading the last few chapters. I mean, the chapters are only like a couple pages long, so I think I'm reading like the last 10 chapters and rooting myself in what happened at the end of the story. And then once I do that this weekend, I'm gonna pick up the audiobook, I believe, of this one. Because I do have the audiobook. If I don't like the audiobook narrator, I'll go back and read this physically. But this is like a retelling of the cast of Maltialdo, at least the first one was. I don't know where it's gonna go from there because that pretty much finished that story. And so I don't know if this will be a different retelling or if it's just gonna go off of what happened in the first book. But I definitely need a refresher about the end. So I'm just physically, or not physically, on an ebook. I just borrowed it from the library to read the last few chapters of that and root myself in that. I realized I forgot one book because it was in by my bedside because I've been reading it before bed, and that's The Appeal by Janice Hallett. And this is a mystery or thriller or something like that that is written all in like emails and correspondence, and it's just taking me a long time to get through it. I'm about, I don't know, what is that, like 80 pages into it, and I'm enjoying it, but it's just taking a while since it's being revealed slowly through these conversations. And it's basically two lawyers that are trying to like figure out what's going on. They're given all this correspondence and trying to figure out what the case is. And so we're learning with them, which is cool because we're just getting the same information that the investigators are getting. And yeah, nothing has happened really. This is all just set up at the point where I'm at. And if for some reason this multimedia thing with the emails and text messages is just taking me longer to read. Even though I might sit there for like an hour, I'll only read like 30 pages or something like that. It just seems to be taking me quite a lot longer. So this one might be like half of the month will be nightly reading this. So that is all the stuff that I am currently reading this week. Hopefully you will see some of these in my mid-month wrap-up, like definitely Bridgerton I'll have done, and this one will be in my mid-month wrap-up, and the ones I finished. That's it for me now because I hear my kids crying. So I will see you next time. Bye.